Rashwan, is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So the last part. Good morning, all of you. This is the last part of physical, chemical, biological characteristics of water. And the last class we discussed the microbial microbial organisms in the base water. We have started with bacteria and protozoa, algae, and also virus. So that's what we are discussing in the last class. Okay. Yes. So now we have to analyze the water, sanitary analysis of water. Okay, and based on that, or before that, you have to be familiar with indicator organisms. So please make a note on that's what I told in the last class. Okay, so you need not necessarily to target, say example, all the contaminants, especially with microbial population like bacteria, virus, protozoa, or algae. So instead, you can identify indicator organisms. That something is important. Okay, if you able to trace out the indicator organisms, there could be a suspicion that there is the possibilities of fecal contamination or possible contamination by human pathogens. That's what we are discussing in the last class. Please make a note on. Okay, so let me make it very clear. You need not necessarily to individually find out the microbial contaminations like bacteria, virus, protozoa, algae, and other helminths. So whatever you do is you just detect the indicator organisms. That's what we have discussed. These are the indicator organisms like total coliform, fecal coliform, and okay, if you want to check anything on the microbial water quality in the drinking water, you could detect total coliforms in the water. Okay, and if it is anything on freshwater recreation purposes, you just detect whether it is any indicator organs like fecal coliform present or not. If it is anything on saltwater recreation, and find out these the fecal coliform traces, total coliform traces, and enterococci. Okay, agricultural irrigation, just find out total coliform. Wastewater effluent also, you just find out the fecal coliform. Okay, so these coliforms are indicator organisms. Coliforms are indicator organisms. Okay. Yes. Why indicator organisms? That something is important in the examination. So why? So this indicator organisms are suitable for analysis of all type of water. Okay, suitable for analysis of all type of water. And this indicator organisms present whenever enteric pathogens are present. If it is any enteric pathogens are there, then you could able to find out ideal indicator organisms also in the water. Okay, and very important property is survives longer than the enteric pathogen. It will remain in the water for long period of time. Survives longer than hardest enteric pathogen. And one important feature is it will not reproduce. It does not reproduce in contaminated water. Detection is very easy, and this is harmless to human. And its level reflects the degree of fecal contamination. Okay, these 5-6 points are something is important in the examination point of view. The characteristics of ideal indicator organism. Okay, let me repeat again. Suitable for all analysis and present whenever any pathogen is present in the water, you could also find out indicator organisms, especially on the coliforms. Survives longer than the enteric pathogen. It will not reproduce in contaminated water. The detection is very easy and very harmless to humans. And based on your indicator organisms level, and you could also like reflect the degree of fecal contamination in the water. Okay, yes. The two commonly used indicators in the water are coliforms and fecal streptococci. So please make a note on if it is in the fresh water or drinking water, you could trace or you could analyze or you could find out coliform presence. If it is any coliforms are there, then you could also say that water is contaminated with some contamination. Okay, coliforms. And in the case of brackish or marine water, you can trace out or you can detect fecal streptococci. So please make a note on these two indicator organisms of water concern are coliforms or fecal streptococci. Coliforms and fecal streptococci. Okay, yes. Now we are, because in the water we have to be familiar with coliforms. Okay, coliforms. These are facultative anaerobic organisms and non-sporing, rod-shaped. That would what would have seen in the this one. Okay, rod-shaped bacteria. Then the main important property is ferment lactose with the gas formation within 48 hours at 35 degrees Celsius. Okay, this is something is important. This is very useful to detect coliforms. Okay, what you do, you just take out the sample, then add lactose, ferment, or keep it in the incubator, and prolong the test for 48 hours at 35 degrees Celsius. And if it is anything on gas production, normally they do it like this. You have a test tube and you have a small inverted test tube vials or what. It's very simple. Okay, so take out the water sample plus lactose. Okay, so lactose, and you just keep it in the incubator at 35 degrees Celsius and for 48 hours, 2 days. And if you could able to find out any gas production inside, then this water contains coliforms. That is positive. That's what it is. Something is important. Okay, please remember this point. So the ability of coliforms that ferment lactose with gas formation with it. 2 days of incubation at 35 degrees Celsius. So within 2 days, you are in a position to say water is contaminated with some coliforms or not. Okay. So traditional method of detection is multiple tube fermentation test. So please remember, this is something is important. If it is anything on water with microbial contamination, they do this test, multiple tube fermentation test. So please make a note on this. This something is important in the examination point of view. Multiple tube fermentation test. Okay, so let me. So this is what I told you. Coliforms. These are rod-shaped bacteria. It will also grow in colonies. So this we can call it as petri dish. Okay, so you have an inoculum and add diluted water or raw water and incubate at a particular temperature, and you also observe these coliforms may grow in colonies. You could able to see the colonies. Okay, you can count the colonies 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you can express in terms of colony forming units. Okay, we'll discuss later what it is. Okay, so this it is easy to identify by morphology. It is rod-shaped bacteria. Okay, yes. Now the test for coliforms. Okay, so please make it very simple, very clear for at least the UG level understanding. You have a 3 different tests. Test number 1, presumptive test. Test number 2, like confirmed test. Okay, and test number 3, completed test. Okay, so this is something that is important. Okay, let me make it very clear. Okay, so number 1, okay, coliforms can be identified by multiple tube fermentation test. Okay, this multiple tube fermentation test may have 3 stages. 3 stages of testing. Number 1, first stage is presumptive, and second test, second is confirmed test, and third one is completed. Is it okay? So this something is important. If you have any difficulty, you just stop me in between. Okay, multiple tube fermentation test. Okay, logically you understand. If it is any microbial contamination, you need not test necessarily with individual organisms. That means bacteria separately, virus, algae separately. So what do? You detect coliforms. Coliforms are called indicator organisms. Indicator organisms have some typical characteristics. Okay, so it will grow only in like in a contaminated water. It may not reproduce. It is not harmful, but important properties is ferment lactose at a temperature of 35 degrees Celsius for at least a 2-day incubation time. That's a indication. So within 2 days, you could be able to identify whether the water is contaminated with microbial contamination or not. Okay, that can be done with multiple tube fermentation test. These tests contains 3 different stages. Okay, one is presumptive test, the second one is confirmed test, third one is about completed test. Okay, so this what I told you. This presumptive test is number 1, inoculate lactose or laryl tryptose. Please make a note on this. Inoculum is important. Okay, lactose or laryl tryptose. Okay, please remember these two. At least you remember lactose. So what do? you take it in a fermenting tube. That's something is important. That's what I told you. Fermenting tube is almost similar to a test tube, and another one more fermenting tube that you have to place with the inverted position. That you have to place in the inverted position, something like this. Okay. So what you do is take out the water and inoculate that water with the say example microbial contamination at a temperature of 35 degrees Celsius, 35 degrees Celsius for 1 day. 1 day. Okay. Observe the fermenting tube. If it is anything on the gas production, something like you could able to see the gas productions by a gas bubble. And if it is a gas bubble, then you can say positive. Okay, you can have a positive. And if it is no gas production or as no gas production, you just proceed one more day. And if it is then if it is gas production is there, you can say positive. And if it is no gas production then you can say negative test, and you just stop the multiple tube fermentation test. You need not proceed into confirmed and also completed. Is it okay? Is it fine? Rashwant or Divya, kindly react.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what you do is very simple. It is only you have to go for incubation, and examination point of view, you have to remember only the inoculation medium or inoculating medium. Okay, so take it in the fermenting tube. That fermenting tube I already explained to you. You have a normal test tube, and you have to place the fermenting tube inverted position like this, small inverted position like this, and keep it in the incubator at a temperature of 35 degrees Celsius for a 1 day incubation period. And if it is anything on positive, then you just proceed into second one. You just proceed into the second test. And if it is no gas production, and extend one more day. If it is gas produced, and proceed with the second test. Otherwise, there is no gas production, you just stop the process or stop the multiple tube fermentation test. Say that water is free from contamination. Okay, so now you have a situation, either gas production either here or you have a gas production here, then you have to proceed the second test. Okay, that's the second test called confirmed test. Okay, so now what you do is now that you have already inoculated with lactose or lyotriptose, and there is a gas production. Okay, so completed test also, which includes presumptive test. That's what I wanted to say. Okay, confirmed test which includes presumptive test. So presumptive test, inoculation with lactose or lyotriptose, and the incubation period is 1 day at 35 degrees Celsius. Now we have observed there is a gas production. Now we are proceeding with the confirmed test. Is it fine? What you do is just transfer the sample which is from the gas production tube. Okay, transfer the sample, and now what you do? You just change the inoculum, that is brilliant green lactose bile broth. So please make a note on brilliant green lactose bile broth. Otherwise, you just remember simply PGLB. Okay, please make a note on this. Is something is important. You can remember PGLB, and proceed with the 2 days of incubation at 35 degrees Celsius. And if it is anything on gas production, you can say that confirm that coliform groups are confirmed. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So once presumptive is positive, proceed further with confirmed. If it is confirmed test is positive, then you just proceed with completed test. Okay. So let me repeat again. The first one is presumptive, where the inoculum is that lactose, incubation temperature is 35 degrees Celsius, and incubation time is 24 hours. And observe the gas production in the fermented tube. If it is positive, and proceed further with confirmed. And if it is not positive, try for one more day and observe gas production is there or not. Then just if it is gas production, proceed. And if it is no gas production, stop it and say that water is not contaminated with any contamination. And if it is positive in the presumptive, then you just then take out the samples from the presumptive fermenting tube, and then you just inoculate in a brilliant green lactose bile broth, or otherwise is PGLB medium, and the incubation of temperature is again 35 degree. Incubation period is 48 hours. Observe the gas production. If it is anything on positive, and proceed with the confirmed test. If it is no gases, then you can stop. Stop the multiple tube fermentation test in the second step itself. So now that whatever you have got is positive. Okay, there is a gas production, just a positive. Then proceed further with the third one, that is completed test. Completed test. Okay, so completed test which also includes everything. Okay, step number 1 presumptive. Step number 2 brilliant growth. Step number 2 that is about your completed test. Sorry, confirmed test. Then what you do is take out the positive tubes from the confirmed test. Okay, that sample, and transfer into a EMB plate. Okay, please make a note on that. This is EMP plates. Okay, that is very simple. You can remember that this is in a simple agar medium. Okay, simple agar medium, and incubate at a temperature of 35 degrees Celsius again for a day, and then just find out if it is anything on the gas production, it is positive, and if it is anything on the no gas production, this is the negative of your coliforms. Okay, so please remember, only you have to remember the medium. First case is presumptive, this medium is lactose or lactose, and second one is about your confirmed test, that you just transfer the positive of presumptive into a second test, that is confirmed test, where the medium is PGLB. Observe the gas production, and if it is positive, and proceed for the completed test, and where the completed test is about your agar medium, and then proceed. And if it is positive gas production, positive. If it is no gas production, that is negative. Okay, yes. So that is being explained in the text also. Just to have a look. That's what I told you. Let me show you the fermenting tube. That's what I told you. That is fermenting tube. So normal test tube, and you have to have a say example inverted Durham tubes, inverted position, and if it is it now is completely submerged in your solution or your sample, and if it is anything on gas production, you can be able to see solution and also like a gas bubble like this. Okay, so this is positive, and if it is remains like this, that is negative. Remains like this is negative. So you could also see somewhere in this. Okay, so in the PGLB, just see that this is completely immersed or completely been with sample, and this you could be able to see now the gas production. Is positive, and you can say that if it is gas production, they say positive, and if it is no gas production, this is negative, something like. Then proceed, and third one you just transfer into a EMB plate or endo-agar medium, and observe positive or negative. Then say that water is contaminated with coliforms. If it is coliforms traces, then there could be a suspicion of microbial contamination, either bacteria, virus, or other organisms. Okay, yes, this something is important. Please have a look, and either you can write stories or text, or you can also write these sort of flowcharts. That is enough for the examination point of view. Okay, yes, yeah, and you can also do the coliform test by a standard plate count test. Please make a note on this. Something is important. Okay, so second test. Okay, number 1 is multiple tube fermentation test. Number 2 is standard plate count test. Okay, so here what you do is the bacteria are made to grow as colonies. That's what I told you. So normally the organisms may grow in a colony. Okay, by inoculating a known volume of the sample into a solidifiable nutrient agar, which is poured in a Petri dish. Okay, that's what I told you. These are called Petri dish. Okay, normally something like a glass, the glass plate like this. Okay, Petri dish. So what you do is now take out the sample, and before that, you just this what I told you. Okay, this is the dish. Okay, and you just fill with nutrient agar. Fill with nutrient agar. And take out the sample, and you can also pour. You can also pour the sample, or you can spread the sample. Okay, two ways you can add the samples into a petri dish. Pour the sample, or you can spread the sample. Pour the sample and spread the sample, and then you just keep this petri dish at a temperature of 35 degrees Celsius in the incubator, and with a period of 1 day. And normally you can express the density. Bacterial density is expressed and number of colonies per 100 ml. Please make a note on the number of colonies per 100 ml. Okay, number of colonies per 100 ml. Okay, so now you can see. Okay, so probably these sort of tests. That's what I told you. These sort of tests, and normally being done with dilution. Okay, that is something is important. Imagine now. If the water contains so much amount of microbial population or coliforms or indicator organisms, what we do, if I'm not going with dilution, what will happen? And colonies may, say example, form like this. It is somewhat difficult to find out or count the number of colonies. Okay, colonies may join together, or it may grow as completely together. It is very difficult to find out individual colonies. It is somewhat difficult to find out or count the number of colonies. Sometimes what will happen now? In that case, if the microbial contamination is very high, then you have to go for a dilution procedures. Okay, so take out the highly contaminated water. You take 1 ml and add 100 ml. That is 99 ml. Say example, add 1 ml of the sample plus 99 ml of your distilled water. Thereby dilution becomes 1 in 100. And take out 1 ml from here and add 999 ml. Then probably the dilution factor is 1 in 1000. Okay, and take 1 ml from here and add remaining water, then grow the bacteria grow the microorganisms in the petri dish with a dilution factor of 1 in 10,000 or 1 in 1 lakh. Okay, so please make a note on the dilution. Whatever you take also should be in a correct manner. Otherwise, sometimes this excess dilution also may not represent the correct colonies, and even low dilution also may not give a correct results. Is it okay? Is it fine? Yeah, dilution plays a major role. Okay, so if it is a drinking water, you have a suspicion that there could be a huge amount of microbial contamination. Better you go for a dilution. So dilution selection is based on experience. Okay, anyway, you are going to count the number of colony forming units per 100 ml. 100 ml. So if it is too much diluted, and it is somewhat difficult to count because there is no microorganisms at all because of dilution, and the colony forming units are very low. Okay, somewhat difficult. And if it is too low a dilution, there could be a cluster formation. It is somewhat difficult to find out the colonies. Is it fine? So this test is, you can say, standard plate count test. Okay, you just remember petri dish, and the medium is nutrient agar, and the temperature is 35 degrees Celsius incubation temperature. Incubation time is 24 hours, and you can express the bacterial density as number of colony forming units. That's what I told you. CFU, colony forming units per 100 ml. Colony forming units per 100 ml. This is something is important. Okay. Yes. Yeah. This is what the actual plate count test will look like. Whatever the yellow color in the petri dish, that is nutrient medium, and these are colonies. That's what I told you. These are colonies. Okay. So this you can place this petri dish in a colony counter. Okay. Colony counter is something like a instrument which may be illuminated at the bottom. It may be illuminated at the bottom, and also you have a say example magnifying lens. You just place your petri dish here and switch on the light, illuminating light, and also just see through the say example the magnifying lens and count the number of colonies. Number of colonies in a particular petri dish. You can express colony forming units per 100 ml. 100 ml. Okay. Yes. Okay. And this multiple tube fermentation test, and also like the standard plate count test are time consuming process, and sometimes it may also give a erroneous results. So to overcome that, the third method, it is called membrane filtration technique. Membrane filters. It's very simple. Membrane filtration techniques. So what you do is take out the water and pass through a filter, and filter again placed on a surface of the growth medium, and incubate, and then you just count the colonies as it is. Okay, so this may be useful for detection of total coliforms or fecal streptococci and fecal coliforms, and this may be useful in the fast detection methods. Just take a filter. That's what I told you. Just take a filter. Okay, and filter the sample. What will happen? And if anything, all the microorganisms will trap onto a surface of the filter, and take out this filter, and then place it in a petri dish with a medium, and incubate at a particular temperature, and just find out any colonies forming units or colonies are present in the microfilter or not. So thereby you can also say that water is contaminated with a lot of coliforms. Okay, so membrane filter technique, that's what I told you. Just make it very clear, because this normal, because this bacteria are in the range of micrometer, 10 power minus 6, okay, 10 power minus 6 micrometer. Okay, it is somewhat difficult to filter by normal filter methods. That you have to go for a pressure filtration. You have to go for a pressure filtration. That's something like what? You just add a pipe or a hose, and then you just have it off in a vacuum pump. Okay, so vacuum pump. So this is your filtration assembly. Okay, so this is your funnel, and you can place this microfilter inside the funnel. Okay, and place it. This can be attached to a vacuum pump. Switch on the vacuum pump. So there could be a suction, and if it is suction, what will happen? It will retain, or it will allow the water to penetrate through the filter, and it will not allow the solids or microorganisms. So what will happen? These microorganisms will trap onto a surface, and remove the filter assembly, and place the filter inside the petri dish like this, and they incubate at a particular temperature. Then you could able to see the colonies. Here. Just count the colony. You can express in terms of colony forming units. Okay, this is membrane filtration technique. Okay, this is the actual membrane filtration assembly. That's what I told you. So you have to place very carefully. You have to pour the sample, and this can be connected to a vacuum pump. So it will allow the water to pass, but it will not allow the microsolids as well as the organisms to pass in. It will be retained, and disassemble and place this filter after filtration, and keep it in the filtry dish, incubate at a temperature of 35 degrees Celsius at 24 hours, and just find out if it is anything on the colony forming units in the filter paper. Just count. This is the membrane filtration technique. Okay, that's what I told you. These are the step-by-step procedure, and because you should be careful, because you should not handle with the raw hands, because your hand also may have a contamination with other bacterial contamination. So make a gloves, and place or take it very take out a clean, say example, filter paper, and take a filter paper, and place it in the filtration assembly, and then pour the water, and this can be connected to a vacuum pump, and then take out the filter paper very carefully after filtration, and this you can be placed inside the petri dish, incubate at proper temperature and proper time, approximately 24 hours, and then you just count the colonies in a magnification, 10 to 15x magnification, and then confirm the colonies and report the results. Okay, so whatever we have discussed so far, number one is multiple tube fermentation test, and the second one is about your standard plate count test. Third one is about membrane filtration technique. Okay, membrane filtration test. So these three are very important to test the microbial water quality microbial contamination in the water. Okay, yes. So there could be a lot of advantages in MFT, membrane filtration, because good reproducibility and single-step results are possible, and filters can be transferred between the different media. Time saving is very considerable, and ability to complete the filtration on site, and very lower cost with MBN procedure. And drawbacks are, and high turbid water cannot be like filtered. That's something is important. And if it is any high population of background bacteria, cause overgrowth. And if you are going with the filtration, if it is anything on metals or phenols in the water, and which may also inhibit the growth of like your microorganisms, thereby your results may not be very effective. Okay, these are the advantages of or membrane filtration techniques. Okay, yes, yeah. So these two are very important books. Probably normally in water chemistry, we may follow this book. Okay, or this standard procedures. Okay, APHA manual or standard methods for the examination of water and wastewater. So all the parameters will be listed in the book, and you just if you want to test any parameters, normally they may refer this books, prepare the say example solutions or chemicals, and if it is anything on the titration or instrumentation methods, you can able to detect the contamination. Okay, with respect to metal or chemical characteristics or biological or physical, any number of contaminants, you can able to follow the procedure which is mentioned in the standard methods of for the examination of water and wastewater. And this could be a very good book for microbiology. This is not necessary for UG point of view, but this will give you a clear-cut ideas on how to test the microbial parameter of water. Okay, so this closes your the first topic of physical, chemical, and the microbial characteristics of water. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So let me share one more. Now we'll move on to water standards. Okay. So water quality standards. Anyway, this is. Okay. So is my screen visible, Rashwant?
Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So for whatever we discussed so far in the class, like physical, chemical, and microbial parameters, we may refer Indian standard IS 10500 2012. So please remember this IS code. Okay. So anything on the water quality for drinking purpose, you should refer this standard IS 10500 2012 drinking water quality standards. Okay. Yes. Okay. So this also probably I'll also drop in the Dropbox. Okay. So these are the quality parameters. Please make a note down. This table is important. I am not asking you to memorize the values, but at least you have an idea of what could be the range. At least for your water, you are in a position to say whether the water quality is good or bad. Okay. So in the table, you could observe like the serial number and characteristics of the water. And you could also see like the requirement. So you could also see acceptable level and permissible level. Please make a note on these two. Okay, acceptable limit and permissible limit. Okay, so you should even water quality should follow acceptable limit, but please make a note on if absence of alternate source. Okay, you are depending on a particular lake or reservoir source. Say example, there is no other sources. If it is any absence of alternative source, okay, and the water quality go up to permissible limit. Please make a note on that's different. Okay, don't confuse so much, because acceptable limit is, and it is a requirement. It is a requirement. You should follow a requirement. But if it is any, there is no other sources, absence of alternative source, then the water quality may go up to the permissible limit. Okay, so please make a note on these are physical characteristics. Color in terms of Hazen units, and odor in terms of there is odor number, or normally the water is agreeable odor, and pH value and 6.5 to 8.5 in the permissible is no relaxation, and taste agreeable taste, and turbidity should not contain any turbid material. That is requirement is 1 NTU. And in the case of absence of alternate sources, it may go up to 5 NTU. Total dissolved solids and acceptable level is 500, and it may go up to 2000 milligram per liter. TDS, we may go up to 2000 milligram per liter. That's what now people have asked for. Okay, don't use RO water. That's what people used to say. Don't use RO water extensively, because RO, reverse osmosis plants or treatment systems will remove all the solids. Okay, so when the standard itself, it may go up to 2000 milligram per liter. 2000 milligram per liter. Okay, so so normally if it is 600, 700, 800 or 1000, you will not worry about it, because it may be like a permissible level. It may go up to 2000 milligram per liter, 2000 milligram per liter. Okay, and all other chemical parameters. Okay, so whatever it is being listed are highly influential parameters: aluminium, okay, ammonia, and detergents, and barium, boron, calcium, okay, chloride, copper, fluoride, and free residual chlorine, iron. Okay, so at least you just have a look on this tabular column and see your say example, if you depend on your surface water quality and drinking water quality, and which parameters of major concern, just look into the value. So I prefer you please remember at least 4 or 5 the physical characteristics. In the chemical characteristics, predominantly you have to remember calcium. That's something is important. 75 essential mineral calcium. And you can also remember chloride. What's the maximum limit? 250 to 1000 milligram per liter. And fluoride, if it is not more than 150, it is not permissible. Not permissible. And then iron, there is no relaxation. It should have only 0.3 milligram per liter. Magnesium, you can remember 30 to 100, 30 milligram per liter. And nitrates is 45. That is the maximum, 45 milligram per liter. And sulfates, it may go up to 200 to 400 milligram per liter. Alkalinity also, in terms of calcium carbonate equivalent, that is about 200 to 600 milligram per liter. 200 is acceptable and 600 is permissible. The total hardness also same, 200 to 600. And zinc is 5 to 10, 15 milligram per liter. 15 milligram per liter. Okay. So at least I request all of you to go through this IS 10500 and have a look. You just familiar with 5 important physical characteristics and 5 or 6 important chemical characteristics. Chemical characteristics which includes, you should know what is the alkalinity limit, and what is the hardness, what is calcium, and what is magnesium, and what is your iron, and what is this nitrate, and what is this sulfate. So alkalinity, sulfates, chlorides, hardness, nitrates, calcium, and magnesium. So at least 10 to 12 parameters you can remember. That will be very useful for your understanding. Okay, yes. And other important features with toxic compounds: cadmium, cyanide, lead, mercury, nickel, pesticides, chromium, and trihalomethane. Okay, so please remember or just have a look on these parameters also. So trihalomethane we have discussed elaborately. Okay, this is what we have discussed. Okay, ASTM standards, American Standards of Testing Procedure or Testing Methods. Or you should follow APHA, whatever I shown in the PPT, APHA manual. So these trihalomethanes are important. These are byproducts of infections, disinfection process. Okay, if organic matters are present, if you go for a disinfection or purging of chlorine for the removal of pathogens, this organic matter may react with chlorine. It will form chlorinated byproducts. One of the chlorinated byproducts is trihalomethane. There is a limit. There is a limit. This is bromoform is 0.1 and chloroform is 0.2 milligram per liter, but there is no relaxation. Just at least have a look of the tabular column and familiarize with what is the acceptable level and what is the permissible limit. Okay, certain parameters you could see there is relaxation, but certain parameters are there is not at all relaxed with some conditions. Okay, no relaxation. So no relaxation also you can have a glance. Better you remember in terms of alphabetical order. That is easy to remember. Okay, so alphabetical order way of remembering physical characteristics and also chemical characteristics. Okay, yes. And the last one is bacterial quality of drinking water. That's what I told you. E. coli and shall not be detectable in any 100 ml of the sample. Please make a note on. In the 100 ml, you could not trace or could not find any amount of E. coli. That's what I told you. The water should be free from bacteriological contamination. Okay, and in the case of treated water, shall not be detectable in any 100 ml of the sample. And treated water in the distribution system also, there is shall not be any reduction in the coliforms. So please remember, E. coli in the raw water that is intended for drinking or entering in the distribution system, or treated water in the distribution system, there should not be any detection of coliforms. There is any detection of, should not have any detection of coliforms or indicator organisms in the water. Okay, yes. And it is also been mentioned virus. Okay, so now you would have familiar PCR test. Okay, so PCR test would have familiar in reduction of virus in the blood sample. Okay, PCR for corona virus reduction also. It is also been mentioned in the water as well. Okay, polymerase chain reaction PCR method. So if time permits, kindly read the method. That's something, this is at least for your better understanding how the testing procedure of virus. Okay, anyway, need not be necessary, but at least now the situation is about corona time. You can also see what is PCR test. Okay, how to take out the sample and how to measure the concentration of the virus in the sample, maybe either from the blood or from a water. Okay, so at least have a look what are the different essential apparatus required and what are the different reagents required and how to do a procedure and how to go for an RNA extraction and how to have DNA synthesis, and based on that you can represent your viral load. That's what they used to say, viral load in your blood or viral load in your water. Okay, so this covers your entire water quality standards. Is it fine? Please refer IS 10500 2012 drinking water quality standards. Kindly be aware with what is acceptable level and what is your permissible level. Is it fine?
Okay, sir.
Yeah, so this probably this also I'll upload, and that's what I told you. Just have alphabetical order of remembering the parameters, physical, chemical, and the microbial parameters, and remember the values. Okay, yes. Okay, so this is what I prepared a PPT, but anyway, I'm not going to discuss here. But at least those who are familiar in text, say example IS 10500, refer the text. Otherwise, you refer the PowerPoint presentation. Okay, that's what I told you. Color, and so I could prefer you are in a position to say color, the limit, and what are the sources of the color in the water, and what are the different effects. Okay, that is more than enough for the examination point of view. So probably this slides may be useful to you. Okay, color in terms of Hazen units, what is the standard with respect to IS 10500, and what are the different effects and what are the different sources. Okay, color, odor, and pH. Okay, 6.5 to 8.5, and risk is low pH leads to corrosion, high pH leads to a bitter taste, and TDS may go up to 500 to 2000 milligram per liter. And risk effects is scale formation, and sources also you can remember. Hardness also again 300 to 600. Risk is again scales in the hot water system, or it will also create soap scums. Alkalinity 200 to 600, and low alkalinity sometimes is deterioration of plumbing, and there could be a leaching of metals, heavy metals in the pipe. Okay, or pipe fixtures. And iron 0.3 milligram per liter, and iron you would already familiar because it will create a brackish color. Manganese brownish color, and the sulfate it will have a bitter or medicinal taste. And if it is anything on excess sulfate, it may also create rotten egg smell by hydrogen sulfide production. So that is very common in sulfate rich water. Okay, nitrate, blue baby syndrome we have discussed, and chloride because it may lead to high blood pressure, because chloride in terms of sodium chloride, if you take high sodium chloride water, and there could be a salty taste, or it may lead to osmoregulations in your blood. Okay, there could be a problem, blood pressures you would have. And fluoride, it is this kind of discolorization in the teeth, or it may create bone damages. Arsenic, those are familiar in West Bengal, and there could be a problems on weight loss, depressions, and nervous system toxicity. and the chromium, skin irritation, and lung tumors and gastrointestinal effects and damages to your nervous system. And copper, and it will also lead to your anemia or digestive disturbances and kidney damage. Cyanide, this is 0.05, there is no relaxation. It will also create nervous related damages. And lead, again, mental retardation and kidney and neurological disorders. Mercury and loss of vision and kidney and again nervous failure. So please remember, if it is anything on the metal, because metal is not being taken up by your microorganisms, if it is in any, there is no digestive mechanisms or microorganisms uptake, what will happen? It will find a place, it will also deposit inside your the main part is your kidney, that is number one, and second one, it will also damage your nervous system. Okay, mercury, zinc also again, the sources, and it will also create a metallic taste. Coliform, I already mentioned to you, there is this should not have any detection of microbial contamination. Okay, and even this is total coliform, this is E. coliform, and this also lead to gastrointestinal illness, and there shall not be any detectable traces in any 100 ml of the sample. Okay, so these are the consolidated health effects and of chemical parameters. Anyway, just have a look. Okay, phosphate, arsenic, mercury, cadmium, lead, chromium. Okay, so these are some of the common problems you can expect. Okay, that's what these slides are important. At least you have a look. Okay, if it is anything on low pH, then immediately you can recognize the water with some problem. Okay, if it is, if you see in your house how white deposits are, white deposits on boiling in your vessels, say something, or in your heater, then you could test the water with hotness, or you can say immediately water is highly hot. Okay, and if it is anything on the iron taste, you can test, or you can say contamination with iron. And if it is soap, it does not have any lather, and you can immediately say that is water is a hot water. And brownish black streaks on your teeth, then you can immediately say that is water is highly with fluoride content or what. If it is any growth of algae, then you can say addition of nutrients, nitrate and phosphate. Okay, and if it is anything on the fish in the ponds are dying, then you can immediately say that this low pH or less DO. And if it is less DO, again directly related to your excess organic contamination. So you have to at least say the sources of, you have to also identify the sources of organic contamination, arrest it, then obviously you have a build-up of oxygen level takes place, and fish lice will also survive. In salty taste with chloride, and this is what I told you, IS 10500 standards, desirable and also permissible limit. So this is what we have discussed. Okay, so I'll stop here. And so if you are familiar with these characteristics, okay, physical, chemical, and also biological characteristics. Okay, let me post the activity. Okay, that you can check in the Dropbox. Okay, read the lectures very carefully, and let me prepare a table of column with the important physical, chemical, and biological parameters of your concern. At least 5 important parameters of physical, 5 important parameters of chemical, and even microbial characteristics, and find out the sources and find out the effects and what is the limit. You prepare a table of column. That's what your activity number 1 or assignment 1 says. Okay, so physical characteristics of the water, chemical characteristics of the water, and biological or microbial characteristics of the water, and prepare one sheet. Okay, one sheet for physical, one sheet for chemical, and one sheet for microbial characteristics, which includes the sources, effects, and what is your maximum contaminant level. Okay, or what is your standards with respect to IS code. Okay, that is enough for examination point of view. Okay, I'll request all of you to go through the notes and prepare this sheet. Let me also post the activity number in the Dropbox shortly. Is it okay? Is it fine?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. Let me download the attendance now. Okay. So the relevant materials, I'll upload the Dropbox and spend time on Saturday and Sunday. And just either you just read it in the soft copy and kindly make a notes. That's what the activity number 1 says. Okay, at least one and a half sheets with respect to each and every parameter. You need not worry about the backbone or template. I'll post the template in the Dropbox, and either you hand write and write it in pen, or you just make it in a soft copy, whichever is fine for me. But don't copy. Please make a individual efforts. That may be useful for your examination point of view. Once you are familiar, then probably you are in a position to write descriptive, or you are good in solving MCQs also. Is it okay? Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much. So we'll move on to the next topic maybe on Monday. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.